We have here the cabinet already drawn on the left-hand side, and that is just for reference. If you want to play around and draw the cabinet, sometimes it's nice to be able to look back and double check your measurements or make sure you're seeing it right. I'm going to keep it here for reference, but you certainly don't have to do that. When we're drawing the cabinet that we're going to have cut out on the CNC router, we're not going to cut all the parts out on the CNC router. For this time, we are going to be focusing on the sides, the left and the right side, the bottom and the back. Those are all going to get cut out of 3/4 inch material, whether it's alder or not, or oak that you decide is up to you. But we only need to draw the parts that we're going to cut out. We don't have to draw all the parts. So I'm going to start with a rectangle. And now SketchUp's kind of funny. You can kind of see if you pull this different ways, you can get the rectangle to do different things. But just draw a rectangle. It's eventually going to be 3/4 thick by 15 inches long. So I'm going to type in 0.75, comma, 15, and then hit enter. Now notice it did it the wrong way. So what I need to do is I'm going to instead type 15, comma, 0.75, enter. It's hard to see this happening. It's down here. I'm going to get this window out of the way. It's down here in the bottom right corner of the screen. Now you'll notice I'm going to undo this by hitting Control Z. I have to make that the very first step after I draw it. After I get the rectangle going the way that I want it to go. Notice it's got the dimensions written in the bottom right corner. Now you'll notice that when I type 0.75, comma, 15, again it did it backwards. I forgot to do it the other way. It's there. If that's not the first thing that I do, I can't change the size of that rectangle. After I go over here and click on another tool, I can't start typing and change anything. So if you don't get it right the first time, you have to start over on it, which is a little bit unfortunate, but not that big a deal. You guys will get it. So now I've got the bottom of this cabinet drawn, the bottom of the side of the cabinet. Now I need to get some height to it. So I'm going to use this tool over here called the push pull. I'm going to hover over it. If you can't see it very well, you can use the scroll wheel on your mouse. You'll see it becomes checked, or there's dots inside of it when it's selected. I'm going to pull this up, and I'm just going to type in 20. That's going to be 20 inches tall. Now I'm going to reposition this so I can see a little better by grabbing the hand. That's the pan tool. And there's only one thing I have to do this. This doesn't get dados like our Woods 1 project did. We're going to use pocket screws and biscuits to put this together. So the only cut that needs to happen on here is the rabbet. I'm going to use a piece of 3/4 inch material for my back, which is different than we've done before. So I need to use a line here and type in 0.75. So when I use the tape measure, this is just a guideline. And what I did is I clicked on the outside edge and I pulled it back 0.75 inches. I can do that again for if you want. I click to place it in an arbitrary location. It doesn't matter. Then I click 0.75 and I hit enter, and it draws that line 3/4 of an inch away. Now I need to draw a rectangle right over the top of that. If I want to, I can get rid of that dashed or dotted line. I'm going to use this push-pull tool again. Remember, a rabbet is always half the thickness of my panel. My panel is 3/4 thick, so I did a rabbet that was 3/8 deep. So if I want to see the dimensions on here, instead of using the tape measure, I'll use the dimension tool, and I can see that's 3/4. And if I can't read that, I can right-click, hit text position, and go outside the start. And this one, I'll move the text position so I can read it a little bit easier. Oh, that didn't work. So I can see that my 3/4 inch thick back is going to fit on here, and it's going to be 3/8 of an inch deep. I don't need the dimensions on there right now, so I'm just going to let that be. Now I need to do something special to this, or it's not going to work. I'm going to double click on this, or triple click, whatever it takes to turn it all blue. Then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say make a component. I'm going to call this side. we don't make this a component, we won't be able to cut it out in the CNC router. When Sketchup makes something a component, it will never add to another shape. So now if I draw a rectangle on here and I pull a rectangle out, it's a different shape. Whereas if I did that before it was a component, it would have merged those two together. So now I need to do my bottom. The easiest way for me to do the bottom is just to draw it right on the side here. So I'm going to come with my tape measure tool. My bottom is 3/4 thick. Come up 0.75. I need to grab my rectangle tool, and this is going to draw right on top. This is 20 and a half long. So now I got my bottom in there. Notice there's no dados or rabbits. The bottom is just a rectangular piece that ends where my rabbit starts. Now, some of you might think the easiest way to get my right side on there is just to draw it again, but I don't have to do that. If I have this selected, if I just click on it once, I can hold down Control. When I push Control on the keyboard, do you see how next to the cursor I get a plus? That means if I hold down Control and I grab the Move tool, it's going to make a copy of it. And I just moved it well away, and now I can grab a click and snap that right to the bottom. But the only issue is the rabbit is backwards. We don't want to put it, we don't want to make the rabbit facing out. So what I do is I right click on it and I hit flip along, and I can never remember which one it is, but it was components red, and now that flipped it. So it's exactly the same as the other side, but it's just opposite. And now, if I had to do this in the future, if I want to edit a component, I have to double or triple click on it until it turns all blue. But now whatever I do to this side, it does to the other side. I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that because I don't want to change the size. But now they're locked together, and whatever I do to one side, it does to the other side. So I'm getting really close to being done drawing my sides, my bottom shelf. The only other piece that's going to be out of the 3/4 inch ochre altar is my back. So I'm going to orbit this around to the back. I'm going to draw a rectangle from here to here, and then I'm just going to pull it out so it's even with the back of the cabinet. This is all the parts that I need to cut out on the CNC router. So that completes the case drawing for the cabinet.